With Blood Lab Bootcamp reopening coming up on January 5th in the new year, I wanted to introduce y'all to some of my clients whose lives have been changed by being able to read their blood labs using functional analysis methods. On today's episode, you'll meet my client Jessica. When Jessica came to me, she had been struggling most of her life with hormonal imbalance, weight gain, skin problems, poor energy and mood, and had been diagnosed with endometriosis and adenomyosis. Jessica had already spent lots of time and money on her health doing all the things that her conventional doctors had recommended: blood work, surgery, and medication. Tired of her problems and not knowing where to turn, Jessica's life changed when we analyzed her blood labs from a functional medicine perspective. It was an extremely emotional for her the day that we analyzed her blood work, and she found out her labs weren't normal. As she said, they couldn't have been normal, not with the way I felt. After seeing this truth herself, she gained the hope and confidence to take further steps in her health doing functional lab analysis. She could clearly see her own path to healing. No guessing, no wasting money on a solution or on testing that wouldn't work or didn't matter, just results. We recorded this episode 3 months after Jessica started her functional health protocol with us, and I am so excited to share with you all the changes she's experiencing. And it all started with a little blood work. Welcome to the Better Belly podcast, where we find freedom from food restrictions, we increase energy in our lives, and we begin to feel more healthy and vibrant than ever by finding the root causes of our health problems. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a marathon runner, functional medicine health coach, certified craniosacral therapist, gut health nerd, lover of Jesus, and owner of Better Belly Therapies, a clinic based in Ann Arbor, Michigan that works with both virtual and local clients to help them achieve the best health of their life. I am here to walk with you on your journey to a better belly and a better life. We're going to go beyond popping a probiotic and just checking out our poop. In this show, we are going to go deep into gut transformation strategies that last for your entire life. If you are ready to feel your best, get ready to roll. You are in the right place. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. Awesome, guys. Well, I'm so excited to have on the podcast today one of my clients, Jessica. Jessica is currently at her 3-month follow-up call and has graciously offered to share a little bit of what her journey's been like thus far, why she started working with us, what changes she has seen, what she's learned about her body, all that fun jazz. And so I'm going to be interviewing her a little bit here so y'all can hear more about what it's like to work with us. Jessica, thank you so much for being on the Better Belly podcast.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome, Jessica. So as one of my first questions, I always want to ask, at the 3-month follow-up call, what was it that made you want to work with us? What was going on in your body and your health that said, hey, I want to dive deeper into this?
Sure. So since puberty, I feel like I've always struggled with hormone imbalance. And so that's things like weight gain and excess hair in places that girls don't want to have it. And, skin issues and things. And then also reacting to foods in ways that people don't normally. So like I would gain weight quicker if I ate certain things like carbohydrates faster than other people. And so I guess where I was at when I, got in touch with you is that I had been struggling for the better part of my life to find a doctor that would actually dig to get the root cause of what's going on. And I was just so frustrated of just being handed metformin and birth control and say, hey, here you go. You're on your way now. You should be healthy now. And I started struggling with endometriosis and fibroids. And, those are there for a reason. And I know that they're there for a reason. And I was just really, really frustrated with the fact that doctors are like, oh, we can take them out, but we're not going to try to find what it is, going on deep inside. And so I was at a loss and I needed another way. And you are very educated and I've heard a lot of good things about you. So I guess that's why I reached out.
Yeah. And we actually had a fun thing. I spoke at a conference and ended up doing this like
Yep.
little training on what it is and how we work in better belly therapies. And you ended up winning like a free consultation. And
Yep.
we looked
Consultation. Yeah.
over, we did and this is actually like our health strategy call. It's like a real thing that people can do with me. It's a 1 hour call where we go over your blood chemistry and using functional lab analysis. Do you remember anything from what you learned about that? Or I remember some of what had gone on, but I'm curious what you remember.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I took away from the webinar that you did was how you interpret blood work differently than the typical doctor. And I've always known that my blood work it can't be normal. Like me feeling how I am, it can't be normal. Don't just say that I'm normal. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, that you were like, okay, now you can look at your estrogen and then in this range, and then it affects your thyroid this way and your liver this way. And I was just like, what? My mind was blown.
Yes, right. You had like one cohesive picture. It wasn't like, first off, it definitely was not, this is all normal. Second off,
Right.
there was a lot of things that were not normal. And
Mhm.
using functional analysis, not doing the conventional or the standard way of analyzing your data. And then second off, they were all like complementary. Like they all kind of were saying a similar story, which then of course gives us an idea of, we know what we can do. We're not guessing anymore. We're not like, oh, yeah, I can't do anything for you. There's actually like, yeah, there's some specific step. This is how we can help you detox. This is how we can help reduce toxicity in your body. This is how we can, help reduce inflammation or all these different things, heal your gut lining. Um, yeah. And I actually remember, um, doing your blood chemistry analysis was one of my favorite blood chemistry analysis that I'd ever done, because I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but you were just very emotionally moved by looking at some blood work, which you'd had your entire life right at your fingers, and just seeing that even in something as basic as your blood work, it was showing up when you did functional lab analysis. And that's actually what made you say, I want to jump in. If this lab is showing it, something else is going on. And the good news is we didn't analyze your like iron or something and say, just take more iron or just take more vitamin D,
Yeah,
because that is
exactly.
not worth its weight in gold.
And it
Um,
was also really interesting when you looked at all of my labs together and you were like, you may have a pathogen or a parasite. And then we did the testing and I had both.
yes,
So that was super interesting that you were like, yeah, you probably do. And
yes.
sure enough,
You can see it straight in the blood work. And
yeah.
specifically for our listeners, if they know anything about blood chemistry, it's in the white blood cell count. Or so
Mhm.
when you look at the CBC, complete blood count panel, when you're looking at things like lymphocytes and neutrophils, if this is going over your head, y'all, it's fine. But there's specific things, they're high with certain, they tend to be high with parasites, or they tend to be low with chronic bacterial infection and all this stuff. And you just had the right pattern. And I said, according to this, you would have a parasite and you would probably have another chronic bacterial overgrowth. And you had both, which it's amazing. And I think that there's sometimes this, I'm curious if you had gone through this. There's this, what if I spend the money on this deeper lab testing, like the GI map and the Dutch, and we find nothing? Did you feel like that blood chemistry kind of gave you the boldness to be like, yeah, let's do this thing?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, my entire life I've spent tons of money on blood work and then it always comes back, oh, it's normal. And even when I had my endometriosis surgery, I was afraid because you don't know that you have it until you actually go in there and see.
Yes.
And so I was spending all of this money on a surgery and I just knew I was going to wake up and all of this pain was just in my head. And it was
Mm,
the same thing with you. They told me, oh, you do have adenomyosis, endometriosis, fibrates. And then you were like, yep, you have H. pylori, you have a parasite, and you have all this other stuff. And it was just a big relief.
yes, yes. You're like,
I was
I'm
actually
not
happy.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I was happy that you said I had something because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not just broken, you know?
Yes, you're not attention seeking. It's not in your mind. You're not insane. You're not whatever all these things that go through our minds and that either sometimes straight up are told to us or insinuated or we just kind of come to the conclusion somehow maybe yeah, I'm just, super sensitive and this is how I'll always be. Opposed to really honoring our bodies and saying I am appropriately sensitive for the mind and body and spirit that I've been given and this is what I'm experiencing. Um, I recently had another client I was doing her results call with, and there's like you might have had that experience as well. You might identify with this, but before I shared all of her results for her labs, I told her I always feel like labs is a bit like Christmas, but some of my clients they're so nervous they don't feel that way. And she goes, "No, no, no. Christmas is about hope, and this is what this feels like."
Oh,
I was like, "Whoa, drop the mic."
yeah.
uh,
Wow.
I know. Do you have any things to say to that, or just wow?
Just wow. It actually gave me goosebumps. I was like, yep.
Yeah, yeah. It can be scary. Um, there's that aspect of scary of what it comes back blank. I've never run a lab that came back blank. Like blank is
Mhm.
equivalent of we didn't find anything. I just never have. If you're at this point in
Yeah.
your journey, and I sometimes say, if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you've tried all the normal stuff and it hasn't worked. So you're trying all the non-normal stuff. If you're at the non-normal phase, you have something. So that being
Yeah.
said, I would love Jessica to tell if you would just talk a little bit about what you've been doing over the last few months, and maybe even just I'd be even more interested if we just jump straight to how you're starting to feel different. What are or how you're feeling either today or some of the what the healing process has looked like the past few months for you.
Sure. So it was a little slower for me, I think, at the beginning, but by month 3, my energy is completely different and my mood is so stable compared to where I was before. I was a freaking roller coaster. And even my husband, I asked him yesterday or 2 days ago when I was doing my paperwork, and I was like, on a scale of 1 to 5, how irritable do you find me? Compared to where I was if I was a 5 before. And he's like, oh my gosh, like a 1, a 2, like totally drastic. I was like, okay, thank you. Because I feel better, like
Yes.
I feel more stable. And I actually find now that he's reacting to stuff where I am the more calm one in the situation when it's always been the other way around.
Yeah.
And so I think that really shows like there's some sort of stability happening and I'm less of an up and down and more of just, coasting. So that's really good. My new energy has, allowed me to reopen my business, and we adopted a puppy and we're doing training. And so I just feel like I'm reinvigorated and I feel a little bit lighter. And
Mm.
maybe that's, the treatment on the parasite and the H. pylori. I don't know what it is really, but just feeling lighter and like ready to take on the day, like really good sleep. I'm going to bed earlier, waking up earlier. I'm less of a like lay in bed till 9 or so. I'm up at 7:30, 7:45 with my husband. No, actually 7:15 now. So yeah, it's a lot earlier than I was. And I've had strength to really stick to my mental health boundaries, stuff like that, like saying no. And I just have a newfound confidence regarding that. And I think that's pretty cool.
Hey friend, do you feel like you're never properly digesting anything no matter how you change your diet? Have you spent thousands of dollars buying supplements, labs, and fancy functional or holistic practitioners to simply have no relief from your symptoms? Or do you just want to poop daily, ditch acid reflux, and balance your hormones without being dependent on medications? If so, I've got great news for you. You can stop the money hemorrhage that's happening around your health and finally get worry free health through the Gut Healer System. The Gut Healer System is my 2.0 upgrade to the former Better Belly method that consistently reduces our clients' symptoms by 80% in 3 to 6 months so that your health can finally feel easy. Our clients have gone from being stuck at home with fibromyalgia to watching their grandchildren's soccer games every evening, or they've been able to travel for work and pleasure without wondering the entire trip if they're going to become constipated and ruin their whole time. We've also seen clients get off of 40 plus years of medications that they've been on for acid reflux, constipation, and PMS, and stay off that medication without needing to be on lifelong extreme diet restrictions or supplements. I want you to be able to enjoy the holidays and family meals without fearing how you're going to feel afterwards or feeling guilty for what you do eat. If you are ready for this, head to betterbellytherapies.com/training to watch my free micro training to learn exactly how 600 plus of my clients have healed their gut even when nothing else has worked before. In this training, you're going to learn what your doctors are missing, even if they're functional or holistic, why no amount of food restrictions are going to heal your gut, the 5 toxin trap that is keeping you sick, how to heal your gut in the most affordable way possible, and the 3 steps to actually heal your gut. I can't wait to see you living a worry-free, optimal, healthy life. Head to betterbellytherapies.com/training to get started today. Now, back to the show.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I mean, I was just say I love hearing everything you just said. Like my brain explodes, y'all, when I have these calls. And that's one of the reasons I love recording them, because I'm just like, somebody else has to hear this. Because I think when you're on the before side, you're like, that's not possible for me, or that's just that person, or and I kind of like almost want to be in this like big reveal. We're not even in the big reveal. We're at the 3-month follow-up. We have 3 more months. I mean, I'm so jazzed. But like, first off, I would say a lot of times I see when mood is impacted, and which is almost always, pretty much always when it comes to health, that you've learned all these. What I find I see is women I work with, that you've worked on all these coping mechanisms. You've gone to counseling. You've learned how to meditate or to pray or to journal. Like you've learned all these different things going on. And then when you don't have all this extra pressure of like, you're constantly fighting and coping with this thing, all of a sudden you still have those skills, but they take you like 3 times as far. You're like, yeah, maybe I still pray or meditate or journal or do counseling or do certain mindset stuff. But it's like lifting a 5-pound weight where before you were training with like a 50-pound weight, which wasn't maybe the appropriate weight to be training with, but you are stronger. Yeah. So like, I think that I see that with myself, with other women I work with, where suddenly they're stronger. And it's merely because you were at a higher like intensity training, at least emotionally, compared to maybe some of the other people around you. And so I love hearing that, because it actually means you actually get fruit for going through those hard times. It's not just like they were empty, which is so meaningful when that's what it felt like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. A few more things that I'm just thinking of now. I feel less bloated on a regular basis. I felt like I always had some sort of like heartburn or indigestion, or just like an uncomfortable feeling after I ate. And now I don't have that. So that's pretty cool. And I'm also having less breakthrough bleeding throughout the month, which I know earlier on in one of our calls, like that kind of started, and it's like almost gone now. So that's pretty cool.
Right. And that can happen as your hormones shift. Everything we're doing, you can't not affect the hormones. Right. We all affect our hormones all the time with the food we eat or the sleep we're getting or the whatever we are not doing, positive or negative. So hormones automatically are shifting. We want them to be shifting in a very specific direction for you, for all of our clients we work with. But that's really exciting to kind of see the hormones shift, and now they're shifting back, and they're going to be shifting back at a better place. And anything hormone related for all of us, but especially even for your goals, is positive. So it's really exciting to see. We didn't have to put you on birth control or anything to get, stop the breakthrough bleeding. We just had to give you a little bit of healing time. What else? I mean, I'm really excited. This is news to me that you had reopened your business. So you have a business called Knots of Love. You do macrame. Yep. I actually have some earrings from your store. I love them. I get compliments on them all the time. I literally wear them all the time. And anyways, and when we had started, you said, hey, I'm focusing on me. I don't think my business is great for me, which is great to be able to make that choice. It's also great to be able to make that choice to reopen. And that's new as of this call. So I'm so jazzed on this side as someone who loves business, loves that freedom it brings and the creativity and even the reward. So I'm excited about that. Thanks. I will add for our listeners, just some data points. You all know that when we do these 3-month follow-ups, we have all this data that we collect. So it's not like all subjective, but we actually put numbers to symptoms. And so you had stated, Jessica, that your brain fog and difficult concentration, that was one of your top 5 symptoms. And it started at an 8 out of 10. And now it's a 3 out of 10, which is more than a 50% improvement in 3 months. And again, you didn't need to go and do any mindset coaching or do any memorization app or anything like that. You just healed your body and it whoosh, bounced back. And then on another level, your mood, you had rated a 10 out of 10, just like everything, hormone, mood, grossness, 10 out of 10 bad. And now it's a 6 out of 10, which is a 40% improvement, which is huge. So for anyone who's listening and is curious, those are some of the hard numbers we are looking at. Let's see. Anything else that you would like to share about your journey? I think we're pretty much done with our time here, but maybe, I always love asking the question, has it been worth it?
Yes. I think just having someone to look over, blood work, stuff like that from a different perspective, totally changes your outlook on your health. It gives you hope and it gives you like a confidence, like, okay, things can change and they are going to change. You have to put in the work and you'll get results. And so I think that's cool. And I love the monthly one-on-ones because that makes you accountable for things and you have to keep up with, how you're eating and sleeping and everything. So I think it's like a life coach and a health coach at the same time.
Right on. Awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing a bit of your journey with our listeners today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Guys, isn't Jessica's story amazing? She had so many symptoms going on in her body that she kept on being told was normal. And after analyzing her blood labs through the lens of functional medicine, she could clearly see her path to healing. It gave her both action steps to take and the confidence and courage to take those steps. She had a path in front of her. I'm so excited to share that you can have this path too through our Blood Lab Bootcamp, which is reopening on January 5th, just for 1 week. I have planned this so that it happens right at the beginning of the new year because new year, new you, right? As you are focusing on your new goals in the new year, I want you to have all of the best tools at your disposal to make the right and best choices in your health. I want your next year to be the best year of your health ever. And just so you guys know, what you get in Blood Lab Bootcamp is amazing. You get direct guidance on what blood markers to ask from your doctor, so you don't have to guess and you don't have to worry. You get direct access to affordable, no-hassle blood chemistry that you can order straight through Better Belly therapies. And this is also amazing if you're just like, I don't have a doctor, or I don't want to hassle with that, or my doctor is not willing to help me out. This is something you can do to get straight access to the markers you want. You will get 5 modules on the most common and most useful blood lab panels, a comprehensive metabolic panel, complete blood count, iron panel, lipid panel, thyroid panel, and additional markers. And if you think any of these are boring, that is because your doctor has not been reading them right. These are fascinating panels and they give you so much data and information that can really empower you in your health. You get worksheets, spreadsheets, and downloads that you get to keep forever. You have access to Blood Lab Bootcamp for the life of the course, and you get to join a live group call where you can bring your questions from the course and bring your blood work for me to review with you. That's a direct coaching with me, a value of $500 just on its own. And as Jessica said, this has been one of the most valuable aspects of her work together with me. Having someone just to look over her blood work with her and help guide her along in her path so she could feel confident and continue to make the right choices for her health. And as a quick note, I no longer offer our 1-hour health strategy session that I mentioned in this episode, partly because I'd much rather teach you how to read your own blood labs rather than do it myself. You know, the whole adage, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. That's another added bonus within Blood Lab Bootcamp is once you take this course once, you get to keep that information forever. It is not a one and done. It is not a go to the doctor and you have to keep showing back up for them to analyze things. You get to learn this information for yourself so you can use it not only for yourself, but for your spouse and your children and your parents as they are aging and you're taking care of other people because, girl, I know you are taking care of other people in your life. I created Blood Lab Bootcamp to empower you so that you can know both what blood lab markers are the most powerful that your doctor might be missing and probably is missing, and how to interpret the results you have. I literally just had a student from Blood Lab Bootcamp showing me yesterday how she took her most recent lab results from her integrative doctor and analyzed them herself. And she found some things he didn't find. She felt so confident being able to use the data coming from her doctor as her own markers for her own health. And it's given her power and confidence to know where her body is and what she wants next out of her doctor and her lab testing and her health. Blood Lab Bootcamp will only be open for registration for 1 week starting January 5th, 2022. So if you are ready to learn, join the waitlist by going to betterbellytherapies.com/blood or by clicking the link in the show notes. And y'all, you do want to join the waitlist. In the waitlist, you'll get a direct email from me letting you know the moment that Blood Lab Bootcamp is open for registration. On top of that, our waitlisters will have access to one-of-a-kind special offers for this course. If you want access to these amazing offers, you won't want to miss being on this waitlist. Again, go to betterbellytherapies.com/blood or click the link in the show notes. And lastly, I do want to mention, if you are like Allison, I do not want to wait until January 5th to figure out this mystery and miserableness of my health. I do want to let you know I am still accepting one-to-one clients to work with. These are clients who are ready to dive deep into their health and fast track your healing to get answers today. If you are ready for that and you're in that boat, then sign up for a qualifying call with me for my Foundations program. This is the same program that Jessica is in and what has gotten her such drastic changes in such a short amount of time. So if you don't want to wait until January 5th to make major tracks in your health, sign up for the qualifying call today. And lastly, just with our normal end of the episode announcements, if you love this episode, we have even more coming down the line. So subscribe so you never miss a beat. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast or you're relatively new, I just want to say hi, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. We have so much content in the past, like over 60 episodes now. So we try not to regurgitate too much or just say the same information over and over again. So if you're like, hey, but what about thyroid? But what about hormones? But what about, go back and listen to our old podcast episodes. We have stuff on IBS. We have stuff on acid reflux. We've got stuff on hormones. We have it all. And so if you're looking for that, go back to our old episodes. Even if you've been here for a while, that can still be amazing because we have just some amazing work that we have in the past. So if you thought of someone while you're listening to this podcast episode, I just want to encourage you, like, be a friend. Take that moment to say, wow, this actually meant a lot. And I thought of someone who's got hormonal imbalances or endometriosis or has been struggling with their weight and feels really devalidated by their doctors. Yes, share that with them. Take a screenshot and just text it to them or put it on your stories on Instagram and just said, hey, this episode blew my mind or it was fascinating, and tag me. I would love to know what you loved in this part of the episode. So other ways that you can support us is by leaving a rating and review. It means so much and it helps other people find this podcast when they are listening and trying to find, hey, what's a trustworthy place we can go and get some information. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, I would love it if you just go down, leave us a 5-star rating and a little review, and it would mean so much to me. And you might get featured on here and me sharing what you wrote. Other ways that you can connect with us is on Instagram. We are really upping our Instagram presence. I'm doing lives. I'm doing a lot more stories. I'm really enjoying engaging with y'all. We have extra content on there that we are not posting on the podcast, such as visceral stretching, which I know some of y'all have been engaged with. So if you are wondering extra ways you can help your belly, I would encourage you strongly, go check out our Instagram, check out our stories, check out our highlights section on belly stretching, and find some new things you can do to help your belly. And in the meantime, I will end with our motto: miracles are immediate, but healing takes time.